Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Good Night, everybody. We have a little bit of a odd start today. We're maybe not as peppy seeming as normally, and reason for that will become evident in just a minute when I bring on my friend and trusty sidekick, Stephen Garone. Stephen, there you are.
Hey, just
Hello, sir.
sending out the tweet that we're starting live so people can join live if they want to.
Great.
Um,
You have something that you needed to
Yeah.
say. Unfortunately, we'll start off with this and give this its due reverence, and then try to move on. So, go. Floor is yours.
a friend I've never met on Twitter, who had went by the name of It's Me Ty, tragically died in a car accident. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I just found out about it probably about 30 minutes ago. She married with her husband for I think 25 years, and I just it hits hard. I never met this person, and I think this is the oddities of the internet world, where there are people we have never met, but we are still devastated when we have lost them.
Sure.
And so I would like to do a minute's silence and silent prayer in her memory.
All right, let's start that now. All right. Well, I hate the old cliche of show must go on, but you
Show-
reminded me of that before we
Show
started.
must go on. Yes.
And, so it will, in the best that we can do, and maybe the best thing to do is to bring a little levity to anyone who is affected by this that may see this. So,
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that one of the things that she did, and that she did well, and that we should all remember to do, was to bring that lightness. She would always talk about how she would go to church every day and pray for everyone. She'd be the type of person like, "Hey, I'm going to church. What do you need me to pray for?" But she also would do the sillier posts, like, "You're stuck on an airplane for 8 hours. Which of your Twitter friends are you going to sit next to?" She was a huge source of joy for so many people, and I think we need to, all of us, be a source of joy, and that's why we have to transition into joy. We always have to go from, and this is life. There's tragedy, and we move from tragedy to joy, and try to remember the fun times that you have with people when they are no longer here.
Well, Stephen, if you're on that plane, I'm bailing out. So I'm hoping there's available parachutes. I saw something else you did on X, formerly known as Twitter, that I want to talk to you about. Apparently, you wanted to get a necklace for your dog with your face on it. I thought that was odd. I think those are called collars, by the way. I don't think it's called a necklace when it's for a dog.
It is when it's like a nice thin chain. I just trying to spruce things up a bit, in the household.
Yeah.
It's a bit, sometimes it gets it's a bit too authoritarian for the dogs. So I figure by giving them jewelry, so it's not just a necklace, because the necklace is a more difficult thing. It's earrings. Earrings, I think, are
you gonna pierce the dog's ears. This is
no clip-ons. It's just this clip-on.
Has this dog been strong arming you? Because last week you told me you were attacked by a crazy Italian man and a chicken, and then the week before that you said you were violated by your cow, which, even though that's biologically impossible, you swear it happened. So is this an instance of the dog is now holding you at ransom and it wants a necklace? I don't know why it wants your face on it, but okay. I mean, people have their odd proclivities. Even dog, well, it's not a person, it's a dog.
Right.
But how does this? I don't think you should be allowed to have animals. I think someone should come and take these things away from you. This is not.
It's a farm, you know. Weird things happen on a farm. And as a note, just in case someone is going to be calling up animal control, a lot of these things aren't necessarily the way that it's being described, but it's fun.
Well, you told me so okay, let's recap. So 2 weeks ago,
yes,
you said your cow tried to
yes,
mount you, and I said a
yes.
cow can't do that, and
not
you
not
said
what
it
not
did.
with the yeah. It
And
tried
you said
to.
it learned it. You said it learned it from the goats. I don't even want to
Yes.
know any more details about that. Why the goats are teaching the cow to do this to you. Then, well, this is an animal related thing, but last week you told me this crazy story about a wild Italian man, and as an Italian,
Yes.
I'm offended. That's racist.
Look,
And you did the most stereotypical Italian accent. It sounded like Super Mario. It did.
It was literally the
I'm
guy.
supposed to sit here and just
take it.
Number one, believe it, right? And
Yes.
number two, just be insulted.
Yes.
My culture. And then you said something about for the people that didn't hear, you said, I'm so Italian. This is verbatim what you said. I'm so Italian. I accidentally made, without even trying, what you called Parmigiano Romano, which is not a thing, by the way. And then it was an attempt to make Gouda cheese, but you're so Italian that once your hands touched it, it turned out
to
made up cheese.
Yeah.
Parmigiano Romano.
This
is what I deal with on the show.
This is
behind the scenes.
I know it's a daily struggle for you, and I appreciate you putting up with it. But all of that is true.
It's not true. It's not true.
It's one day you will come and see my farm, and when you do, you will understand.
I'm going to need a cow chastity belt, and I'm going to need to see pictures of that being put on the cow before I consent to coming there.
We have fixed the issue with the cow, so we're good.
You got the cow fixed?
No,
you got the cow fixed. Okay, now the animal people are really coming.
No, how are you getting the cow pregnant?
The cow is pregnant?
No, the cow was pregnant. The cow is no longer pregnant, which is why we have milk.
Okay. Yeah, that's how that works. Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes.
That's how that works. You got that one right.
Yeah, and we were.
You know, Stephen, I feel like if there had been Yelp back then, the majority of the passengers on the Titanic would have said that ultimately the trip was a real letdown.
That's probably true. The servers were
anyway,
cold.
Let's move on. We have a special segment we're doing today.
Right.
Now, are you ready for this, Stephen? We're about to play America's fastest growing new quiz show game. It's Name That 1980s Professional Wrestler.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited. My brother knew some, like he was kind of into it, so I may recognize some.
No, you weren't supposed to look at anything.
I'm not looking at anything. I'm saying that my brother had some that but I'm gonna, if I don't know it, I'm just gonna try to make. When I was younger, he had some of the toys. I don't remember the names, but I do remember the faces.
All right, here we go. Are you ready for your first 1980s professional wrestler? Now, if any of these fall outside of the 1980s and they were more popular than I don't want letters. Okay, we're lay people here when it comes to. I know how people get when it comes to. Okay, Steven, here we go. Your first 1980s professional wrestler. I want you to guess the name of this gentleman.
I'm gonna say Polka Dot Phil.
No, it is not. This is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Wow. Okay.
So you're 0 for 1. You're 0 for 1. Are you ready for your next 1980s professional wrestler?
I'm 100% ready.
Okay. What is this gentleman's name?
Oh man.
Now there's a clue. There's a little bit of a clue in his prop.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jake the Gardener.
That's close. You would think because the shears, the pruning shears.
Yeah.
This is Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yes.
I mean,
now
his gimmick kind of gives it away.
Yeah, his gimmick was after he beat you in a match, he would cut your hair all haphazardly with his shears. So you really didn't want to lose.
I would have been fine.
Well, he could have cut your little beard thing there. Are you ready? You ready for the? You're 0 for 2. Let's
2.
You're not going to win the big prize. You ready for this one?
No.
Okay, here we go. Who is that? Now this one should be easy. That's an obvious.
I want to go with like Money Man.
Oh, that's close. I'm gonna give you a second guess. You're so close with Money Man.
I know. So I'm gonna Money Man or Rich Man or the Millionaire, something.
You're so close. Okay,
Mr. Millions or something.
It's the $1 Million Man, Ted
$1
DiBiase.
Million. Okay.
And what he would do after he beat you, he would stuff $100 bill in your mouth. That was his thing.
80s wrestling was something else, wasn't it?
This was the time. Let me tell you, those are the days. All right, you ready? Now you get a 2-for-1 in this next one, so you can get 2 points if you guess these guys. Are you ready for this one?
I am.
What were these gentlemen collectively called as a tag team?
I'm gonna say Sergeant Dunces.
That's pretty good. No, you want another guess?
No, I think that's probably the best I'm gonna do.
These are the Bushwhackers.
The Bushwhackers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the camo was not part of it. Got it. They're just.
Well, of course it is. Of course it is.
Okay. All right. Please tell me that you're gonna have like one that's a gimme in here, because at this point I'm like,
I thought these were shoo-ins for you, Steven. I mean, anybody with sense in their head could have come up with these.
Okay.
All right, we'll try another one. You're not doing very well.
No.
Okay, now this one looks like somebody you would know. Okay.
Okay.
Who's this?
Of course, because he's a farmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say the cowboy, ranch man, farm boy, Phil.
That's, you know what? That's there are three words. Well, no, it's one word, but the first word is a compound word. So you're not that far off. Let's try another one. What else would you call somebody like this?
So it's the Homestead Harry.
No.
Okay. It's the
Hillbilly Jim.
Hillbilly Jim. Okay. All right. No, okay.
This episode will not air. I'm afraid to show you this next one because I know how you are.
Okay.
And since you've already made several racist statements, I'm so afraid to show you this.
Only to Italians. Okay, I have no problem.
No, you made a racist statement about there was somebody else. But anyway, I'm just behave yourself when I put this on here. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get canceled.
Got it.
Who's this? Be careful. I know you.
I'm gonna
I don't like that, Steven. So don't even.
I'm gonna say Bulldog Jones.
Okay, that's not bad.
Because he's got the collar. Where would you imagine the chain?
If this man in this attire were not a professional wrestler, where do you imagine he might work?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You say it. Why?
If this man were not a professional wrestler wearing that attire, where would he work?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like the places that I think of someone has a career who wears a dog collar and chain.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't think of a good solid answer. We're gonna go. I think I'm still going with some kind of dog breed. So yeah, I think like maybe pit bull. No, Rottweiler. The Rottweiler. That's This
is junkyard dog.
Junkyard dog. Okay. A dog would work in a junkyard.
Now you're gonna love this one. You ready for this? You're not ready for this.
Let's go for it.
There he goes.
Okay.
Look at the fit on this gentleman.
I mean, that the parrot just adds to it. That's macaw, right? I'm gonna say flamenco.
You're never gonna get this.
Aruma, because he's got a flamenco Aruma, because he's got
where did you come up with that?
Well, because he's wearing like a flamenco outfit, and then he's got IRUMA on his hat or his headband.
Does?
Yeah,
I can't even see that. Does he really?
IRUMA. It looks like.
You're never gonna guess this.
Okay.
Should I give you a hint? I can't even think of a hint. This is Coco Beware.
Coco Beware.
Okay, now this one is the gimme. Okay, I feel like everybody knows this guy. I think he died recently, but he was big on social media even up until the end, if it did end for him. This one you got to know. Okay.
Okay.
Who's this?
I recognize him, but like it was some kind of like the Sheik or something like that.
Yes. What kind of Sheik might he be, being that he was a wrestler? What material would he describe himself as being made out of?
Oh, probably Iron
The
Sheik.
cardboard. Yeah, it's the Iron Sheik. Ding, 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 ding. I should have
Yeah.
got a bell. You got one.
Yes,
Hey,
one.
you got one. Good, because there's only a couple left.
Okay.
This is just flying by. Isn't it?
Sweet. Yeah.
Here we go. No, this is one of my favorites.
Let's go with Wall Street William,
You're close. It's in that vein.
the stockbroker,
No.
the stockbreaker.
No, think of just taking your money.
IRS.
That's
man?
That is Erwin R. Shyster, otherwise known as IRS.
The 80s were quite a time, weren't they? I mean,
They
I
were.
was only alive for a couple of years during them, but man, the legacy lives on.
Well, I wasn't even born yet.
Oh, well, yeah,
Well,
there you go.
As far as you know.
As far as I know. Okay.
As far as you can prove. I'm very young. There's 2 left. You got
Okay.
1 so far out of 11.
Good.
You're one for 9.
Good.
Who's this?
That looks like Andy Richter. Like you look at the face, it looks kind of like Andy Richter. I don't think it's Andy Richter. I'm gonna go.
He was much funnier than Andy Richter. I mean, that's a low bar.
The Handyman.
It's close. This is Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Wow. Okay.
He always carried his 2x4 and he would yell "Ho!" when he came into the. I don't know why, but that was his thing. People loved it.
That was his thing.
That was his thing. This is the last one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You better get this.
Okay, I'll try.
Our guest is falling asleep.
Our guest is.
Are you ready for this?
Let's go.
Who's this?
That's the King. It's Elvis.
It's close. There was a wrestler called the King, Jerry the King Lawler. This is not him.
But he's Elvis. He's the king of rock and roll.
He couldn't call himself Elvis, could he?
Right. So that's why I went with the King.
So what would be some descriptors?
I don't know. The Nashville King. He's the.
There's nothing King.
Okay, well, he's like the rock and roller man. Rock and roll.
It actually says his name somewhere in this picture. I was hoping you wouldn't notice, and of course you didn't because you're oblivious.
No, I'm trying to look at it. Yeah, no, I got nothing. I can't read it from whatever it is. So
this is the Honky Tonk Man.
The
Honky Tonk Man.
The Honky Tonk. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Well, and that was guess the name of the 1980s professional wrestler. Stephen, you are awarded no points. You're terrible at this.
I got 1 point. 1 point.
I'm taking it away because your other answers were so bad. You get no points. Anyway, we have a guest tonight. I don't know why he's still here after that, but he is. He's a kind gentleman. He's a very talented musician in multiple bands. We'll talk about that, and a very creative person in other respects, and we'll talk about that too. It is David Metcalf. David, thank you so much. Welcome to this iteration of the show.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Steven, nice to meet you.
I know you. Okay, so here's the way that this works is, Chris Lawrence, he books people on, and he kind of tells me sometimes about the person.
Well,
and
I always do.
Right, but I never actually
prepare. That's your problem.
Right, I never prepare for it. But your name and face look so familiar. I'm pretty sure I know you.
Where do you live?
I live in Arizona.
I don't know.
I mean, possibly from your music and whatnot. Okay. So let's.
Which you didn't listen to.
No, right? I didn't. I don't do any research, so I can be just as pleasantly surprised at whenever the guest shows up.
But it doesn't work that way, Stephen. You're supposed to do some research.
Yeah, but if we're both research, then I don't get. You don't get to look smarter than me if I do my research. So
well,
I'm doing it for you.
And you live on a farm in Arizona?
Allegedly.
Last time I checked, yeah.
Supposedly.
Like what type of farm is it?
I mean, it's a homestead. So I got 3.5 acres, a cow, a couple goats, lots of chickens.
We have 2 cows now. Well, you must have 3.
Well, yeah, we have 2 cows. No, we borrowed the male.
Oh, I
He's
see.
my neighbor's, and so we're gonna borrow him again so that the next baby will be born in like October, November. So that's the plan.
So you have the mom and the calf.
Yep, they're
Wow.
separated, but yes, they are there because otherwise the calf will drink all my milk.
What does the calf eat?
Hay, grass.
You
It's
you
been
can just-
weaned.
You could just move them onto hay, right? Like just like that. They don't need to be drinking milk.
For 12 weeks, the calf is on the cow, and after 12 weeks, then the calf is weaned and eating mostly grass, anyway, and just a little bit of milk, and so that you can just transition straight to grass.
And the cow will just keep giving milk indefinitely.
No, the cow gives milk for I think about a year. So we're gonna get her pregnant again in January, and it's around January time. So she'll have her baby in like October, November timeframe. So she'll stop giving milk 7 months into the pregnancy. So she'll stop giving milk in about July. She might stop giving it beforehand, but this is her first freshening. So her second freshening, she should give a lot more milk. And generally speaking, for dairy cows, they try to keep them pregnant as often as they can so they can get as much, so you get the most amount of milk out of them. But yeah, so so we don't do that though because we don't keep a bull on hand, but you could, and
So
then you could.
If you're getting all this milk from the cow, why do you have goats?
Well, we had goats before. Well, we were waiting for the cow to be ready to give milk. So the goats, we still have to milk them because we're weaning them, and then we're going to have about a 3-month gap between when the cow stops giving milk and when the cow starts giving milk again, or the calf is born. So we need something to bridge that gap. So we have to get the goats pregnant around February, so that 5 months can happen, so that they'll be giving milk when the cow stops giving milk.
And goats will clear weed and brush and stuff too, right? Because they're
goats eat everything. Goats will eat weed and brush and trees. They'll eat tables. If you don't feed them, they'll eat wooden tables.
Okay.
And like they just
tin cans in the cartoons, right? It's always
right. They just eat anything that is available. They are picky eaters until they're really hungry, and then they're not picky eaters.
Well, so am I.
What does your family think about goat milk versus cow milk?
Goat milk has a better flavor, a more depth of flavor to it, but it goes bad quicker. It gets
Is that true?
Yeah, it goes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It gets like a goaty flavor. So it's like this. It's very hard to describe other than to say it's goaty, but it tastes kind of like how a goat smells. And so that goatiness gets into it. In order to keep it from getting in there, you need to keep the milk at a very low temperature, between 35 and 40 degrees. And if it gets too warm, then it becomes goaty quicker. And so people normally keep their fridges at 40 degrees, but if you keep your goat milk in the fridge at 40, when you're opening and closing it, 40 is the bottom. And so 40 is like around where it's supposed to stay, but it'll go up a couple degrees as you're opening and closing it. And so the milk doesn't stay as fresh.
Oh, in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Noah Smith, who plays the drums in Bodies of Water. He grew up in Arkansas in kind of a little town, and his family had a goat that supplied all of their milk needs. And I think he had like 5 brothers and sisters. So it was a big family.
Yeah.
But he said that the kids all didn't like the goat milk, and they just drank it because that's what they had. But then they would go to their friend's house, and they would be like jonesing for like milk from the store because they like that sweet cow milk. But I think this might have been the problem, is that like his family didn't understand about like what temperature to store the goat milk at, and so these kids were kind of getting like goat milk that had been a little warm.
It gets goaty.
Will diet affect it too, Stephen? Do you notice if you feed? Now, what is goat weed?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What goat weed is?
Goat weed.
There's milkweed, and milkweed is a weed that, like, when you break it, it has like a milky discharge. That's not good for them to eat.
Oh, I just learned that there's a weed that chickens eat. Do you have any of that? What's that stuff called? Because we went to a farm. Like, we used to go to this farm all the time to get raw milk. before we moved out of there, unfortunately. And they had a lot of chickens, and there was this one kind of plant they kept growing, and the chickens loved it. It was some kind of weed. You have any of that?
So
But do you have chickens? You don't have chickens. You do have chickens.
I do. So chickens will tend to eat a lot of different.
Why are we interviewing you? That's okay.
I don't know, but so you got so the weeds that they love the most, which is called chicken crack, is that's what people call it. It's desert mallow, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's super edible. Every part of it is edible. It's the cousin to the marshmallow, which marshmallows
edible by people.
Yeah, like all of it. You can take it's a weed that grows. You can take it. You can take the leaves and put it in a salad.
You're in California, yes?
Yeah.
Are you in the more kind of northern, rurally parts of California? Or are you in populated?
We're in Los Angeles. It's a big
you are.
city.
That's right. Okay. Is that because of the bands? Now, okay, so let's start with this. So David has, Stephen, this is for your purposes, probably more than anybody that might watch, because I'm assuming that people will watch because they're fans of David. They're not watching for you. Maybe they are. They're not watching for you. So David has or had 2 bands. I know that Bodies of Water was the first as far as public releases, right? And that's still ongoing. In fact, there's a new album, or newish anyway, as of when we talked. And there was also Music Go Music. Now, David, is Music Go Music defunct? Is it on hiatus? Was it a kind of short-term thing? You guys had the vision for what you put out for that band, and now it's done?
Yeah, I guess sort of indefinitely on hiatus. We may do something at some point in the future, but it's the group is Meredith, my wife, and me, and our friend Adam, and then Bodies of Water is Meredith and me, and then most of the time it's been Kyle Gladden, who's a childhood friend of Meredith that we've known forever, and then various other people coming and going, like Noah, the goat milk guy. He's kind of off and on for years. You know what's another thing that's funny? He told me that when he was a kid, his goat drank a whole gallon of house paint.
Oh.
And we kind of like was just laying there for a while, and then just kind of like pulled through and was fine.
Yeah.
Really?
Goats are hardy.
Have they ever gotten into any crazy stuff like that?
No, we do a pretty good job of keeping our goats away from anything crazy like that. So like,
I think his family was really sleeping on the job. They were letting their goat milk get warm, putting construction materials in the goat pen.
Yeah.
I mean, first, goats are actually very good escape artists. So you got to keep the food where they are. Otherwise, they'll find ways out. Like they are.
What kind of goats do you have?
I have Nigerian dwarves.
Okay. They can jump better than people would assume too, right?
Goats? The Nigerian dwarves cannot. So when you talk about goats that jump, Nubians, and we have one Nubian.
That's racist. You can't say that.
It's a Nubian goat.
Nubian goats. Even we've been through this. You can't be racist.
So they can jump. They could jump about, I think, 4 feet in the air.
Well, because they're Nubians, they can jump high. You can't, Stephen. You can't do this.
Nubian goats. This is Nubian goats, man. Anyway, they are big and they can jump. They can jump.
Oh,
high,
of course they are.
And they give the Nubian dwarves, which is a mix.
You can't say dwarf, Stephen. You can't say this stuff.
These are the official names of these goats.
We're in the woke era. You can't say this.
A mix between a Nigerian.
They have a name. I don't know what you're supposed to call them. In fact, we did an episode where I told this. Did I tell you the Webster story?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar with the show Webster? Either one of you familiar with the show Webster?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was this show Webster, and it was about and see, this is where I have a problem. I don't know what to call him. He was a little guy. He was a person. He wasn't a little person. He was little, and he was a person. He had something. I don't know what it was. We didn't worry about it back then.
Perpetual child, right?
He was a child, but he was also he didn't get tall.
He was just real small. I think maybe he had like a gland problem or something.
Yeah, something like that. He didn't get any bigger. So he stayed, and he was a African American little fella, and he was adopted by these two. Don't look it up now. By these two white people of means,
right?
Who he called ma'am and sir, which you couldn't do now. I don't think that would be a whole bucket of worms now too. But anyway, they adopted him. So here's here's the point of this. So after like the second season, they moved into this big. It was like a plantation. Well, it wasn't a plantation house. It was a big house. Let's not call it that. And this house had secret passages that Webster found. So ma'am and sir were off getting the tour on like the first day there from like the woman that was selling the house. I forget who it was. And meanwhile, Webster there is going around and he finds the grandfather clock. And for some reason, he pulls on it. I don't know why. And it opens. And there's a ladder behind it. So he climbs up the ladder, right? And he comes out in this attic. And as soon as he pops out, he turns around and there's a from the back you see an old woman, long gray hair, in a rocking chair in front of this open window. And this is true. And she's just rocking. Now I've told the story on other shows. She's rocking like this, just slowly. She's not moving, just the chairs like that. And Webster starts going, "Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, ma'am, ma'am." And it's just, she doesn't turn. She's just rocking in the chair, right? So he goes, "Oh," and he runs and goes back down the ladder. And from my memory, they never explained it. So the next episodes happen and they're living in the house and everything's fine. This traumatized me for life. Because I was like, you can't do that. So there was some dead woman, as far as I was concerned, in this house in Webster that never got addressed again. Her corpse is just sitting up there in the attic while they're playing Tiddlywinks or whatever they do in all these other episodes. You know, Webster has a bad day at school. Okay. It was like 2 years ago. For some reason, I thought about this. And I was like, oh, we got the internet now. I should look that up, see if anybody else had this experience. Well, yeah, a lot of people did.
Oh no, we lost him.
He was overcome. He just kind of seized up with the memory of it. That's sad. That's a lot of trauma.
While we wait for him to return to talk about Webster, I thought it was Gary Coleman he was talking about, but Gary Coleman was not Webster. It was somebody else.
It's kind of a similar deal, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're in a band.
So Bodies of Water is the one that we're still kind of sporadically releasing records and doing all that kind of thing. And then Musical Music hasn't done anything in a while.
Okay. And I realized where I know you said your name was David Metcalf.
Yeah.
You have the same name as that Navy SEAL guy who killed himself. So you're not that guy, though.
I don't know who this is.
So I know there's like a kind of famous Navy SEAL who ended up killing himself, whose name was David Metcalf.
Oh, okay.
So you're not a musician. So that's a good thing that you are not him, because then this would be a completely different program if we were talking to ghosts. So we're not doing that.
Unless he was interested in goats and that kind of thing, and then it probably would just kind of go the same way that it has been going.
You know, it would probably go the exact same way if the ghost of David Metcalf was on this show, A, and B, interested in farm life. Mm-hmm. So tell me about the band. See, obviously Chris did his research and I did not, so he knows the right questions to ask. I'm just a guy who doesn't, and since his connection died, I'm going to try my best to just wing it until he gets back. So tell me, you play, what do you play in the band?
Well, when we play shows, I'll play the guitar almost all the time. And then when we're working on recording, I'll kind of just do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But yeah, usually the guitar and the piano.
Now, I hear that you have children.
Yeah. Did you hear them screaming in the back there?
I did earlier. Yes. I mean, did you hear my children screaming in the back?
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one. I wasn't sure whose kids they were. Yeah, my kids. We like 2 years ago we built out our attic to add more bedrooms because we have 3 kids, and so they were like sharing a room, and the tensions were high. So we added these rooms upstairs, and they have this thing they do now where they put like a little, I don't know what you call it, like a mattress from like a baby bed or 2 of them, and they get them on the top of the stairs and they sit on them, and then like it like sleds down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs there's like a 90-degree turn, so they just slam into that wall down at the bottom.
That sounds safe.
So when you hear this banging, that's them sledding down the stairs.
So you said you have 3 kids, and
Yeah.
that's 3 kids is the hardest number of kids to have. Now I say that because I have
Me?
7, and so
Wow.
I have experience.
Hello?
3 is the hardest. Hi, Cliff.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, my computer crashed. The ghost of Webster got me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm sorry. We do want to hear the end of that story.
No, well, so
So
So-
traumatized, you went on the internet and people had
for
the
like
same
20
experience.
years
Yeah.
until I realized I could look this up. And yeah, so he goes with Sir up the ladder behind the clock, and the old woman is still sitting there and she's rocking in the
Yeah.
chair. And they try talking, ma'am, she's not moving. So Sir, he's brave. He's got to be brave for his little adopted boy. So he goes up and puts his hand. Well, it's a doll.
Okay.
It's a big, giant, like life-size doll. Well, I
Okay.
never saw that. So as far as I was concerned, there was a dead lady sitting up in the attic of this house through like the 7 consecutive seasons that the show ran, and they just never talked about it. Because I must have been so scared, I must have either left the room or turned the TV off. So anyway, that's the. Why did
I
talk
gotta
about this?
say.
Oh, I started talking about this because I was trying to distract you from being racist. There we go.
Right. So I gotta say that would be a fantastic thing to do in a show, to not reveal that it was a doll, just to like have it end on this idea that there's just
Well, shows
like
have done this stuff like that.
right, but like I
Like
just
Buffy the
like
Vampire Slayer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer has done a lot of things.
Yeah, but there's the episode where she's in the psych ward,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends with her in the psych ward, so you don't know if the whole thing was her just being crazy.
Yeah, Joss Whedon's a weird guy.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Why is 3 the hardest?
So 3 is the hardest
I
because
want you to give me a little.
okay.
So talking
So
about goats or children?
children, 3 children is the
I almost
hardest
said kids, and I didn't say kids. You know why?
because kids are goats.
Because goats and kids, same thing.
Yeah, I know. It's whenever one of our goats is actually giving birth, which is called kidding. I'll go in and say, I'll say to my wife, "Hey, the goat's giving birth." She's like, "Are you kidding?" I said, "No, the goat is." And anyway, so 3 is the hardest number because it's the first time that you were outnumbered, and
What's the magic number?
Well, you don't have like the skills built up for that number, so that you can then, when you have 4, your first one, generally speaking, is at least 4 years old, which means grab the bottle, grab a diaper, that type of thing. The first one
I'm sorry,
at 4,
what? A diaper? Oh, we're talking about children. Okay.
for the baby, for children. Yes.
On the goats. I got confused.
No,
Okay.
no. The goats are
surprised.
anyway. So having a child be able to go and grab stuff and bring it back is helpful, right? So grab mommy her water bottles so that you can get.
This is why you have children, Stephen?
I'm saying that's why 4 is easier than 3. 3 is the hardest because after 3 it gets easier with each consecutive child. 7 has been the easiest number for us to have because we have a 10-year-old, we have twin 7-year-olds, we're about to be 8. We have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old who's about to be 3, and a 1-year-old. But they all kind of work together, and we've gotten into a system where they can all work and help each other out. The only problem with beyond 4 is that you have to get a big, giant, stupid van.
We don't have to.
Because 5, you can have 5 kids, or you can have 5 kids seated comfortably in a minivan if none of them are in car seats. If any of them are in car seats, then
incarcerated.
See, you guys have you have a big passenger van for everybody.
Yeah, we have a 12. We have it's a 15-seater, but the back seat is missing. When we bought it, it just wasn't there. It was used, so it's technically an 11-seater. So we have got an 11-seater, and our kid, we take up. There are 2 free seats currently, so we have room for 2 more kids before we have to buy another car.
I guess our sons are like significantly older than my daughter. She's like 6 years younger than our second son. So like the dynamic you're describing was like different for us. You had kids like this real quick. So
Catholic,
like
got it.
the Right, we're Protestants, so we like to space them out appropriately. Um, but they, yeah, but by the time my daughter was born, both her brothers were kind of old enough to like help out a lot, and the oldest one
That's
can
nice.
babysit and stuff. So yeah, and I'm sure a lot of that's just personality stuff too. She was like the easiest one of all the
I only
babies.
have
So
I only have one so far anyway, but we didn't know that we were going to be able to have any. So she's kind of a miracle anyway. And I come from like a family with a lot of only children, so we don't know what the future holds as far as that. But we're very happy. That's all we have. So I can't relate to the kind of dynamic of multiple children or even being in one of many. But it's
how
interesting.
old's your daughter?
3.
Okay.
Yeah, she's little.
3
And,
is
she has great taste in music, though. She likes a lot of your stuff.
Oh, good, really? That's nice. Does she have any favorite songs? I'm curious
Of
about
yours?
what young people like.
Of yours or just in general?
In general.
She's on a big Morrissey kick right now, and the Smiths. So Cemetery Gates and Alma Matters are her 2 favorite songs right now. And then she goes into the Vampire Weekend stuff. It's like her second big thing right now. But I've played her like a battery of different things, as long as it's nothing like inappropriate. I don't want her to hear obviously like swear words or innuendo, because she's bright, so she picks up and then she remembers everything. But yeah, she likes a wide range of stuff. But right now that's her go-to is when she's requesting is she wants Alma Matters, the Morrissey, Cemetery Gates, the Smiths, and anything off the last 2 Vampire Weekend albums and half of the first one. That's like
my oldest son is old enough now that he's like showing me stuff that I haven't heard of that I like a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
The other day he was playing this, but he's into this like 80s Japanese stuff.
Ooh.
And he was playing this band called Piper, which I couldn't even really find out much about him.
I don't think I know.
They have this. I think the record. There's the record cover is like a surfer like looking out at the ocean, but it kind of sounds like the music from like 8-bit Nintendo like racing games. Like if it's like a hi-fi, like a live band playing it. You guys should check out this Piper record. I want to say Hot Sand is the name of the record, maybe. Anyhow, but yeah, I wouldn't have known about this if he wasn't doing it.
You should impress him and suggest to him Yoko Kanno and the Seatbelts.
In the Seatbelts, all right.
They did the soundtrack to Cowboy Bebop, which if you don't know what that is,
that's an anime.
It is an anime. So, but that's kind of a 90s anime, and they did it, and it's like a jazzy, poppy, Japanese style. It's kind of like, if you listen to it, it's kind of just like, it is very jazzy, and it's pretty good. Not all this. I mean, you need to listen to the songs. I think there's 1 or 2 songs that have questionable lyrics, but that's not in a way that actually they mean the questionable lyrics, but they're just trying to use words that sound cool in English. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of toss words in that don't make a lot of sense. But yeah,
do they sound cool?
They do. I mean, it does. The whole thing's like the music is very. It's got this. It's got a really good like jazzy beat to it, but it's these 1990s Japanese band that did the soundtrack to the show Cowboy Bebop and to the movie. So
I found oh, it's not gonna work. But I found Piper. They're on Piper's on Bandcamp also. And yeah, you're exactly right, David. It's Hot Sand, Piper, and
you guys can listen to that, yeah. And then, oh yeah, he really likes that rapper Miles. Have you ever heard of him?
No, really I do not know Miles.
He's funny. He's like the stuff he's been putting out. He makes like a lot of stuff. Kind of, it seems like kind of on his own. And the stuff he's put out recently, I don't like so much. But like go check out Frederick Douglass by Miles. You'll like this one. It's sort of like a comedy novelty song about Frederick Douglass.
Of all the things to have a novelty song about, I'm okay with it.
The refrain is that like go get that cash like Frederick Douglass.
That's great. I'll have to check that out too.
Isn't Frederick Douglass most well known for losing in a debate to Abraham Lincoln?
No, that's Stephen Douglas.
Stephen,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a different Douglas.
Frederick Douglass was a slave, and then he was free, and then he kind
Okay.
of became a sort of a celebrity, going around telling everybody about
Yeah,
evils of
Okay.
slavery.
a great orator,
Yeah.
Frederick Douglass. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact,
I don't know that much about his financial situation, but the song is great.
I'll have to check that out too. What did you find yourself being influenced by how long have you been doing Bodies of Water? How long has that been I mean, I know when the albums came out, but how long was it in existence before you actually recorded something or put something out?
I don't know. We kind of played together casually for a while, and the I think initially I was the only person that like knew how to play their instrument, so we kind of had a long runway where everybody kind of learned how to play their instruments so that they could play in this band, you know.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I don't know how long it was, few years, but
So you guys were friends and then said, hey, why don't we try playing some music? And people were learning the instruments because of that. Is that kind of how it?
yeah, we were all friends first, and then we decided that we should put a group together, and so we
Was
learned
it,
to play. So
was the inspiration like, I want to make some music that's the kind of stuff I want to listen to, and so I'll get my friends and we'll do it? Was there a little bit of that kind of? It sounds like
I guess so.
yeah.
I mean I'm sure that's the motivation for most people, right? Or else they're just like think they're gonna cash
Well,
in.
these days, right, exactly. These days I think there's a lot of that motivation is try to craft something or have something crafted corporate. There it goes again. That chair. Every time Steven moves his chair, it sounds like he's stepping on a witch.
You need a little WD-40 for that, Steven.
Yeah.
This chair is older than some of my children, so it's there, and it needs work. Yeah, but I
It's fine.
use it for work. It's fine. It's fine.
What were some of the influences when you were starting, and has that evolved? Have you retained specific influences? Because there's a difference in sound from album to album. Nothing jarring, you know. There's a through line, I would say. But do your influences evolve? Is influence something that you think about consciously when you're putting an album together or starting to write?
No, not really.
Not really.
I guess I mean I don't really hate anything that I used to like, if that's what you mean. But I do like some stuff that I used to hate, so that's good. I feel like I dislike much less music than I used to. Not that I disliked a lot of music to begin with, but I feel like more stuff I work on and listen to, and the less I seem to. Well, yeah, I guess maybe it's that when you're young, music is one of the ways that you define yourself and how you kind of slot into the world. And so, and part of that is what you like and listen to, and then part of it is just what you don't like and you don't listen to, and so yeah, I guess you kind of are more apt to like put up kind of boundaries around what you like and don't like, and what kind of person you are. And now I feel like I don't really care that much about any of that, and I just kind of feel very comfortable just sort of liking what I like, and there is no real through line to it as far as I can tell. And but yeah, I mean, I'll hear stuff and think, oh man, I'd like to try to do some version of that. That would be fun. But as far as like being influenced, I guess that's the extent of it. There aren't like groups that I want to try to sound like or anything like that, you know?
Right. Do you have other things that you find are consistent inspirations, literature, art, your faith? Is there something that you can kind of go to that well over and over again if you need a little boost in creativity?
I don't know. I don't really plan it out. I usually just kind of sit down and then just kind of just start going and see what happens, and just kind of do stream of consciousness type of things.
Right.
In certain times of the day, you kind of just have ideas jump into your mind and you kind of just get them out and put them down, and then at other times of the day, for me, late morning maybe, and then later on when you're maybe a little more tired and or like things have kind of you've slowed down a little bit, then you go back and edit, and when you're like the most kind of critical or like apt to be in a bad mood, this is maybe the best time to go through and trim the fat, and then you can kind of like you can kind of say no to all the stuff that the more sort of manic version of yourself from earlier in the day was compiling,
Yeah. I find it hard to either be creative or kind of bury myself in creative things the later in the day it gets, which is hard for me because I'm a night owl. So most of my free time to do things like that is, after the wife and the kid go to bed, but that's when I feel the least inclined to do it. And so I'm kind of trying to wrestle with that. I have piles of books I want to get through, and I'm working on the novel that I'm trying to write and the poetry that I'm trying to write. And I would love to start recording music myself. My daughter's very musical already, and but it's like when the free time comes around late at night, when I was like, okay, now I can sit and write, I just feel like I find myself listening to YouTube videos or picking up a video game or just mindless things.
I can't speak to like writing like that sort of longer like form work, but I think that like with any kind of creative endeavor, there are like a lot of different jobs that you have to do to make the thing, and so part of getting experience with it and like learning how you are able to like uniquely work on it is knowing what frame of mind you're in. Like for you, maybe like going back and editing is like, that you have to have a totally different mindset than when you're just like sitting down in front of a blank piece of paper, or when you're like diagramming out, like trying to figure out big picture what's going to happen in this thing. This is also like a different type of discipline, and you have to be in a different kind of frame of mind. So like, I think you got to kind of organize your like schedule and the way that you work to take advantage of that.
Do you feel it's more for you personally, and do you think it's more like some people I know, the creative, they're the kind of like knuckle down type, and they'll set aside like, okay, 2 hours of this part of the day I got to sit down, I have to bang away at the keyboard whether I feel like it or not. And there's some people that when the inspiration hits, whenever they may be, and there may be long dry stretches, that's when they'll work. Do you find that you're more inclined to one of those ways than the other, or do you kind of go in between?
I don't really like make myself sit down and work on anything unless I have something that's like kind of that I know I need to finish, then I'll just kind of make time for it. But as far as like brainstorming for a certain amount of time every day, or doing your daily pages, all those kinds of things, I don't really do any of that. I feel like I don't know, I guess I could, but with kids and everything, and I don't have like a regular job like work schedule, so I just kind of like,
well, that's good.
I kind of I don't know, which means that things are pretty chaotic, and so I just kind of am making it up as I go along.
Did you find that when you're writing, are you writing for an audience, whether that's your wife or the people that you think are buying your music, or is it mostly for yourself? What you think sounds good and the words that feel right to you in the moment? Do you consider other people when you're, and is it collaborative? I mean, how much of the writing process involves the rest of the members of the band, and especially your wife, I would say?
It depends. It's kind of varied from record to record. Some of them I wrote all the lyrics, and then some songs I'll have like the music totally done when I bring it to everybody, and then sometimes I'll be like, oh, what do you guys think, this or this? Like, how many times should we play this thing? But that's been sort of contingent on who we're playing with and kind of how often everybody's actually able to get together and at what stage we're able to like play together consistently. Because sometimes we're able to play together like while I'm still working on stuff, and that informs it. And other times I just have a bunch of stuff done that I am just kind of teaching to everybody. So Yeah, like the record that we made most recently, they came out earlier this year. Like almost all these songs were kind of written, or like kind of the earlier stages. They were I came up with them when during all the kind of COVID stuff, when people were like leaving town and doing all this. There was kind of like our group kind of became a little bit of a diaspora because people moved to various places, and that was the impetus for a lot of people's lives to kind of change in ways that maybe had been brewing for a while. And so I just kind of like, for the most part, pretty much all of this stuff was just like, I just wrote all this stuff on my own, and then would have different people kind of come over to record this or that with me, or I'd kind of like, we'd just do the rhythm section together one day, and it was all very stretched out and intermittent, and there wasn't any kind of like logic to it.
I think last time we talked, you were about to start. I may be getting the details wrong. Please correct me, but some kind of maybe music direction for a church, or for their music program, or their something like that.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a few years.
Okay.
And that was the group of songs that are on the most recent record were things that I wrote, and we don't sing them all in church, but I basically wrote to be songs for us to sing in church. The rector of the church, prior rector of the church, was kind of wanted me to play like some more. I usually just play like hymns and sort of like folk gospel music, and he wanted me to play a little bit more, and other people in the church I think wanted me to play a little bit more contemporary music, but I didn't really feel like I could do that very well. And so he said, well, why don't you write some music, and by virtue of the fact that you just wrote it, it will be de facto contemporary music. And so that's what spurred me to write those songs and record them and everything. And some of them are songs that we sing in that church.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is because it does seem to me, I didn't know if I was just crazy, but it seemed to me like there's more kind of, I don't want to say faith centric, but there's more of maybe your faith infused in a lot of these songs than at some other instances.
Well,
and they're very beautiful.
Yeah. Well, all of they're all gospel songs essentially. So yeah, that was the deal with this record.
Yeah. Do you feel like you need to have those things subsist in the music rather than be explicit at any point? And do you ever worry about people having a reaction that you wouldn't want to religion being in music? Is that something you don't even think about? I have friends that are very Christian, very Catholic. They create music, and some of them will refuse to let any of that really be overt in the music. They want to make sure that they appeal to as broad an audience as possible, whatever that means, which is kind of impossible anyway, I would think. And I have other ones that say, the music comes first, but I'm not going to shy away from something that's so central to my life being a part of what I create. Where does your mind kind of go to when you're considering those things?
Oh, I'm not really concerned about it. I mean, we've always been pretty explicit about making like religious music. We haven't always made religious music, but I don't know, we have kind of veered from gospel music to love songs and stuff like that. So there, I mean, I wouldn't say we're not doing that consistently, but that's like always kind of part of the deal with us. I'm not really concerned that people would be turned off by that. That's just kind of what you sign up for if you're going to make any kind of artwork. Like, if everybody likes it a little bit, then nobody really likes it much, you know?
Yeah.
So we erred on the side of like only a few people really like it.
But I think that's the right mindset to have. I think sometimes the stigma doesn't come with the idea of faith and religion and Christianity being in music, but that label of like being called Christian music, because so much of that is let's just say it's not necessarily always good, right? DC Talk and these other bands that I remember from Jars of Clay, maybe.
Well, there's not. I don't think there's good or bad music, and I think if
Interesting.
DC Talk or Jars of Clay, like they have, there's a lot of people that really love their stuff, and that's fine. And I don't think, I wouldn't say like that the people that like their stuff are wrong or like that they,
No.
are unevolved or anything like that. They just have different tastes and proclivities and backgrounds than I do.
Right.
So, and I guess, which makes me a little more probably ambivalent about the fact that a lot of people won't like, those elements of what we do because that's to be expected. There's and there aren't a lot of I think there is like a small group of people who want to listen to that kind of thing and seek it out and like value that. And like, I hear from people once in a while that's kind of the common refrain when I get emails from strangers is that like, they appreciate that we're kind of working on this and there isn't somebody that's kind of filling that niche in their lives or in the world. I'm sure there are people, but maybe they haven't found out about them yet.
Yeah, I think that the last big kind of name that I remember trying to do something like that, and now I think he's kind of moved away from it, unfortunately, was like Sufjan Stevens was doing a lot of fun, kind of interesting, beautiful music and being not at all shy about putting his faith in there. But and I think it's impossible to really detach if you're making anything beautiful. The source of that is God. Now you may not consciously be aware of that, but I mean it's got to come from there if it's going to have any aspect of beauty, being that that's the source of anything beautiful. Stephen, you probably have thoughts on this. You're big on the creativity, the joy, and the
I am, yeah,
beauty in the world. So what do you think about what we're talking about?
Well, I think so. When you're talking about like talking about like Christian music versus music that is Christian.
Well, even or even what you do, right? Like writing comedy sketches.
I mean, it's like I wouldn't disagree. You write what is true for you. You write what is good for you, and like you're gonna have your religious aspects come through it because that's just who you are, right? If you are a religious person and you write a song, you're gonna have that religiosity. I'm gonna just call that a word. Religiosity is going to shine. Good. Good. I'm always glad when I make up a word and it's real.
Aren't you a writer?
Which is part of writing is making stuff up. Actually,
I'm a writer. I don't know a lot of words.
Yeah, but that religiosity does come through. So, like, if I write a story, it's going to have Christian elements to it because that's just the way that I think, right? And
well, it's inevitable, right? I mean, if something's gonna, like Dylan said, you got to serve somebody. And even if you're an avowed atheist, you're serving something. It's going to come through in your creative endeavors, I would think, no matter what. And I think the difference is, I don't know what you think about this, David, but it's like whether or not you choose to acknowledge it, right? Like we can't purely create of our own accord. Do you think that's true? Like we got to get it, at least part of that kernel of creation from something higher than us.
Well, I don't think it's different than any other thing you do. I mean, we can't do anything of our own accord, right?
Right.
And not to be overly deterministic about it, but I just think like the and I think I guess because I've been doing it for a long time, maybe it seems more mundane to me because I'm focusing a lot on the nuts and bolts of it, but I don't think it's necessarily like a more mystical or spiritual discipline than doing anything else. It's like washing dishes or driving to work or whatever. I mean, your batting average of like having a spiritual or mystical experience when you're, making art or like performing for people is higher than when you're driving to work or doing dishes. But I mean, you guys are Catholic, right? You have,
Yeah,
like Therese of Lisieux. Are you
sure,
familiar with her? Like,
sure.
this
Yeah.
I don't know. I was probably like a teenager and I read her like biography, and that made a big impact on me. And as much as like, I think this is like a really valuable, a really profound framework for just existing. Like we tend to hierarchize experiences and things that we work on, but this isn't necessarily like reality, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
the value in these moments and in this work doesn't really come from us investing value in them. It comes because like we're existing in creation, and like that has like a very sort of I don't know, an equanimity of worth, right?
It seems to me like beauty is exceedingly valuable right now because so many people have either never learned how to recognize it, refuse to see it, or are surrounded by things that are not of it. I mean, especially in the West, unless you're deep in the woods, you're not seeing a lot of beautiful. I mean, there's all this like brutalist architecture and commercialism, strip malls, and cacophonous noise, whether it be from construction machines or whatever the latest top 20 hit is that isn't necessarily a beautiful song. So I feel like when the stuff that you're doing and things in that vein, that even takes into consideration the idea of creating something beautiful. There is something of a higher aspect about that, and I think we need much more of it. I mean, Steven's big on the bringing joy into the world, probably for a lot of those same reasons, right? Like you notice there's something that is oppressive happening. It seems to me. I don't want to be too, I don't want to bring everything down, but it does seem like we're in a particular place in history where we're less accepting of things that are truly objectively beautiful and true, and more either I don't know, kind of laissez-faire about just, well, things are just ugly and that's how things are. I'm not sure how to put my finger. I mean, Steven, do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah, the world needs joy, and
yeah,
so someone has to provide it. And if you don't see anybody else providing it, you got to do it yourself, right? That's kind of,
but there are people now that it almost like that idea makes them angry.
yeah.
Like, why are you trying to make me feel joyful? Right?
There are always going to be people who are going to resist God and resist joy and resist hope, because it is so much more comfortable to be wrapped up in your blanket of despair than to be exposed to reality and to joy and to hope. So people like despair. That's why, I mean, think about like songs, movies. Think about movies that people enjoy, right? The
Yeah.
You
They've
look at
taken a
like,
real turn for the dour in the last
well, yeah, but like
several decades.
even if you're
Everything's
talking
about
about,
like somebody's murdered wife or like,
right,
I
but
don't
like
know, whatever.
a comedy, right? A comedy is, they know a comedy is cheap and they know it's not going to make a bunch of money back. They toss out a comedy in order to get some money because they're cheap to make, but comedies don't make $1 billion.
No,
Dramas make $1 billion, right? That's like
I
this
think it's the
really,
Oscar.
right, like the really like high intellectualist drama types where you have everyone goes and they watch it, and it's about the futility of life and everything. It's like, but what we need is comedy and joy. We need laughter, and people just kind of, they don't flock to it. You make something funny and people are like, I'm gonna go and watch the news and talk and hear about how everything is terrible.
Yeah.
But
David, what do you find yourself consuming when you're looking for like just pure entertainment? Are you reaching for a book? Are there shows currently on TV that you watch? Have you seen any recent films that were deserving of actually going into the theater to see? Because I can't even remember the last one I went and saw in the theater.
I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. I used to.
Yeah, me neither.
I usually just want to watch. I usually just want to watch comedies. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned this. I haven't like thought about it too much. The last two movies I don't know. I watched where Steamboat Bill Jr. and Modern
Okay.
Times.
Yeah, those are
these-
great.
But my kids were like, "We want to watch something," and I was like, "Fine, I'm going to put on a Buster Keaton movie, and if you don't like that, you can go do something else." This is a the common tactic, and then they'll watch it. They like it, but they don't realize they like it until it's it
Yeah.
gets going.
I was so happy because the other night I found that there's an official Laurel and Hardy YouTube channel that's uploading
Oh.
all their stuff and like remastered
Oh, that
1080,
sounds great.
and it's I love that.
I'll have to look into it. I don't really know anything about Laurel and Hardy. I mean, other than Who's on First, like I don't know any like
That's Abbott and
Abbott and
Costello.
Costello.
about them. Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah.
So Laurel and Hardy is a comedy duo from the.
Oh, Stan and Ollie, right?
Yes.
The
Right.
with the
Yeah.
mustache.
They started off with silent shorts and then
Yeah.
they moved into the talkies, as they call them. But all
Yeah.
the stuff is brilliant, and I feel like it holds up. It's enjoyable. I only watch old movies at this point because of all the reasons I stated before about this new stuff. But I love the old stuff, and I love the joy in the old stuff, and I love the almost like the safety. Like there's something comforting about like putting on Leave It to Beaver and just trying to exist in the world that is not around anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I like that. There's like it feels comforting. It feels good.
It's a
Maybe-
Wonderful Life.
Maybe you're just
Yeah.
shirking modernity. Maybe you need to.
I'd like to.
We could all do with a bit of shirking modernity.
I'm open to. I guess I'm just busier than I used to be, and so and like looking into which new movies I'll really like watching is just it's not high enough on my
Yeah, me
list
neither.
stuff to do. I'm sure there's lots of
That's
lots
probably good stuff.
of stuff getting made. I just don't know about it. So
Haunted Mansion 2023. I'm going to
Mhm.
say it 1,000 times. It's
What?
probably Haunted Mansion 2023. The
No,
Disney one.
Steven, come on, man.
It's good. Watch it.
No,
Watch
I'm not,
it, and
no,
you
I'm
watch
not
it.
watching.
You come back because it's a good
Actually,
movie.
we have a question that was submitted by my daughter. I forgot about this. So, David, this is for you.
Okay.
Do you have any marshmallows I can borrow?
no marshmallows.
No marshmallows. Okay. Well, that was a question for my daughter. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Steven,
sorry.
you really need to go soon?
Yeah, I mean,
You're
I was trying to be quiet about it, but yes,
No, I'm
my
gonna
wife
announce it.
is. Yeah, no, my wife would like me to be done with the call in a few minutes. So that's what
Okay. Well, we'll start to wrap up then. It's been, and I'm sure David, his time is more valuable than yours. So if you're gonna go,
infinitely.
we'll let him go too. But David, we barely talked about your music. I don't know why we went off the rails here. This is as I want on this. It happens on this show. But your music is fantastic. I would like to point everyone. I'll put links to everything in the description, and your videos. I love the videos that you guys have made for the stuff, and I wish that people were still making good creative music videos. The narrative videos and the talk show that you did, the fake talk. Now, what was the name of that? That was so good.
Arts in motion.
Right. Are you
Yeah.
going to do any more of those? Do you plan to? Please tell me you're going to do more.
I don't know. Filming them all, I really wanted them to look like Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose, yeah.
So we set it up so that it would look like Charlie Rose, and it did.
It
It looked just like the lighting looked like it. The guy that shot it like figured all that out, and he did a great job. But it's just like so much more work to like do
Yeah.
it that way. So I don't know. I wrote a whole bunch of them, but then I don't know. Maybe we'll just do it as a podcast and instead of trying to make it look like a proper TV show. I don't know. They're actually like, yeah, it's fun to write these fake interviews, but actually making it and filming it and all that is a lot of work. So
It's a drag. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, like I said, we're still figuring all that out here, and it's slow going, but we're getting some help to figure it out. Well, David, I hope you'll come back sooner than it's been in between these last two talks, because it's been really good talking to you both these times, and Steven's here too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been nice talking to you guys. I have I didn't want to just totally derail the conversation, but I do have a lot more goat and cow related questions.
We got
Yeah,
to hear those.
You could do a spin-off podcast where you just talk about livestock and child rearing.
That's
the
a good
next
idea.
time, the next time you come in, we'll make sure that we cut Chris out, and it's just you and me, and we'll just talk about goats and cows. You know,
I
that'll
like
be fine.
goats. I like goats.
I was-
Cows.
I'm not saying we need to cut anybody out. I'm just suggesting more
My
goat
computer just crashed. That's all, Steven. You don't have to be rude. I like a good
Oh.
goat story as much as anybody.
I'm
I
joking.
like
I'm
a
not
cow
gonna-
as much as the next guy, unless the next guy is this guy.
Yeah, that's
who
right.
Really likes the cow.
Or is it that Ricky Gervais joke where he's like, I like a beer just as much as the next man, unless that next man is Mel Gibson, and Mel
Oh,
Gibson.
yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, that's funny. All right.
Ah,
Well, we'll have to book this again closer the next time, whenever you're available, and we'll prioritize. We'll set aside a segment for livestock talk. That could be the name of the podcast, Livestock Talk.
livestock
Yeah.
talk.
I love it. Well, yeah, at least right now, for me, like this is much more interesting than talking about my songs and stuff. So,
I know, but we have to, because it's like the pretense of the show is like I'm interviewing you about your music, but I get it. I understand.
It's all about balance, right? You got to strike
Yes.
a balance between creating art and tending to animals.
Yeah.
Or talking about either or both of those things.
Yes.
But yeah, really good to talk to you guys, and we should do it again.
Definitely.
All right.
Thanks so much, David. All right. Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
that watched or that is watching on the replay. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.